Hello everybody and welcome back to the Blossom Review. How are you? Today we're reviewing TVN's Typhoon Family, a 16-episode drama that came to a close last Sunday. If you haven't watched the show yet, here's a quick warning that this review contains very mild spoilers. Okay? Everybody ready? So let's start. Set in the late 1990s, Typhoon Family follows Gang Tae-pung, played by Lee Jun-ho, a member of the Orange Tribe. If you're not familiar with the term, Orange Tribe is a term coined to describe the carefree, unconventional and extravagant children of wealthy families in South Korea during that period. Tae-pung and his best friend don't seem to have a single care in the world. They go clubbing, dancing their souls off, and ending up in fights with the nasty Pyo Hyung-jung, played by Moo Jin-sung, another Orange Tribe youngster whose father owns the huge Pyo Merchant Marine. Tae-pung is a horticulture major who believes that his love for flowers and free-spirited lifestyle has only caused his father, Jin-young, played by the extraordinary Sung Dong-il, disappointment. Jin-young is the respected and capable CEO of Typhoon Trading, whose staff we get to know early on in the first episode. The one making coffee at the office is Oh Mi-sung, played by Kim Min-na, Typhoon Trading's bookkeeper. As a young woman, she is seemingly treated as the bottom of the food chain by the senior staff, but her intelligence soon comes to the surface when Jin-young, the CEO, is shown asking her for advice before signing a very important deal. That very first installment perfectly sets up a story about loss, resilience, and togetherness. You can feel the narrative building momentum, while this massive financial crisis can be felt bubbling underneath every single business exchange. The tension between father and son shakes up our protagonist's personal life. Our male lead is an incredibly kind but profoundly naive kid who wants to save everyone. And our female lead is a brilliant but poor woman who needs to survive a system that sees her as inferior due to her gender and lack of formal education. Jin-young passes away the night South Korea officially requests an IMF bailout. And so both South Korea as a country and Tae-pung as an individual have their lives suddenly turned upside down. Despite his complete lack of real-life experience, Tae-pung then joins Typhoon Trading, determined to save the company his father dedicated his life to. He finds a peer in Mi-sung, two young people who not only need to survive, but also show their responsibility for the people who surround them. Tae-pung has his mother, while Mi-sung has her two younger siblings and their grandmother, who count on her being the breadwinner. And that's the real heart of Typhoon Family. This is a story about two kids who come together to fight against the storm of financial crisis, prejudice, stereotypes, and corruption that assails them. It is their optimism, their persistence, and their dedication that shine the brightest. For Tae-pung and Mi-sung, integrity and humanity always come before money and greed. They hold on tight to their values and goals and bravely march forward, regardless of the hurdles thrown their way. Lee Jun-ho and Kim Min-na are extraordinary actors who offer nuanced, subtle performances and work wonderfully well together. Their conversations flow naturally, and their bond is built on their shared vision of the world, their respect for each other's strengths, and their care for each other's well-being. Much of the warmth of Typhoon Family actually comes from Mi-sung's circle, let's say. Mi-sung and her sister are the perfect depiction of how poverty can suffocate one's dreams regardless of how hard one works. However, the Oh family proves that poverty has nothing to do with your principles or your kindness or your compassion. Between the Oh siblings and their grandmother runs an unbreakable connection of pure familial love that goes beyond the social status or illness. They love, admire, and cherish each other with a sincerity that is always moving. And this love that they feel for each other sort of extends to the people who surround them, the people they come to meet. This environment then prompts the show's one and only solid character arc, which belongs to Taepoong's mother. She goes from a clueless woman to the proper head of a household. She slowly becomes more aware of her son's struggles, of the broken society that surrounds her, and of the privilege she had been living in. Taepoong's mother then embraces the challenge ahead of her, learning a new craft, working hard, and wholeheartedly assisting the people who offered her shelter. She then becomes the mother figure the Oh siblings lack, a friend and supporter to Mi-sung's grandma, and a reliable presence in Taepoong's life. Throughout the first half of Typhoon Family, the series also counts on some incredible guest characters who allow our protagonists to face the awful effects of the financial crisis. Beyond poverty, Typhoon Family is also marked by homelessness, hunger, cold, loneliness, and despair. But instead of allowing these massive challenges to be the main antagonist of the story and exploring these themes with the care and attention they require, Typhoon Family chooses to go down a path of cliché villains, coincidental events, and very, very repetitive conflicts. That momentum that is built throughout the first few episodes soon fizzles out, and we are left with Groundhog Day in 1998 Korea. So the narrative of Typhoon Family is composed of shorter arcs, but if you put them all together, they don't really make for a cohesive whole. They are only tied together by our protagonist's grit and nothing else. So character dynamics become more superficial as supporting characters come and go according to the arc we are watching. The sense of community that is developed so strongly within the Oh household is shoehorned into the Typhoon trading office in the second half of the series, rather than being slowly fostered throughout the entire narrative. So what was supposed to be a realistic exploration of the effects of the 1997 crisis in Korea suddenly becomes a makjang whose business storylines often lack logic, whose events are always ridiculously opportune, and whose characters' vices, mistakes, and prejudices are often overlooked. The crisis then becomes mere background noise. Its hardship is soon replaced by cartoonish, shallow antagonists who have no genuine motivation for their actions. Pyo Bak-ho, played by Kim Sang-ho, the owner of Pyo Merchant Marine, is just a bitter, cynical old man. Meanwhile, his son Hyun-jung hates Taepoong for the sake of hating him. The closest to characterization we get is that Hyun-jung has clear psychopathic tendencies, and that's pretty much it. Typhoon Family then tries to combine slice of life, romance, business, human drama, and makjang, which is a bit too much for a single series. But even worse than that, I think the greatest problem in this script is the lack of variety in the establishment of these narrative conflicts, because Typhoon Family chooses to repeat the same interpersonal conflict over and over and over again. Taepung is a character that barely changes. He has always been kind, determined, and righteous, so he isn't given any sort of internal conflict. The moments in which he wavers in his determination are always very quickly solved, and they become a mere blip in the space-time continuum. Blink and you miss it. Hyunjung, shallow a character he is never seen struggling with his own morals or objectives either. So we don't really have any internal conflicts. We have a lot of interpersonal conflicts between the Typhoon trading staff and the pure merchant marine, and we barely have any sort of external conflict because with the crisis taking the back seat, every single arc in Typhoon Family actually follows the exact same framework. Taepung needs to accomplish something, he manages to get it, the antagonist stops him, the Typhoon trading staff then finds a creative way around it, or they're simply lucky, and then the antagonist ruins everything again. So this is Murphy's Law 101. Taepung's fate is to have everything go wrong all the time. So even in the middle of a nationwide crisis, financial crisis, our antagonists seem to be almighty, until, of course, they conveniently aren't in the last episode. In most stories, the protagonists are given small victories throughout the story so that they can prove their skills, so that the script can keep the audience on their toes. Will they win this time? One day? And of course, these small victories give rhythm to the narrative. But Typhoon Family chooses to humiliate its characters to the very end, have them fail time and time again, and fill much of its screen time with a one-dimensional antagonist that adds nothing to the series' theme and messages. The limited variety of conflict in Typhoon Family makes for an exhausting and repetitive experience, and the cliché breakups, the sexism and harassment that are never addressed, the random personality traits that are forgotten halfway through the story, and an excess of expository dialogue don't really help either. Oh well, so the final question is, should you watch Typhoon Family? Guys, I have to confess, I am a massive fan of Lee Jun-ho. I really am. I've loved him for many years. I think I've watched all of his dramas. And he's amazing here. But while his charm is irresistible, giving us charisma is undeniable, and the narrative has its fair share of heartwarming moments, Typhoon Family bites off more than it can chew. It tries to be a character-driven and plot-driven narrative, a blend of a dozen different genres, a classic tale of good versus evil, and an exploration of a recent historical event. The intention and message behind this narrative are praiseworthy. Yes, as praiseworthy as its almost perfect protagonists. But with such a huge cast of characters and such a complex topic, there was just too much to flesh out. Between the excess of screen time given to a shell of a villain, the same pattern of incidents playing on repeat, and the comforting human factor, Typhoon Family may enchant some, but it's far from the drama it could have been. Typhoon Family is available on Netflix. Quick reminder that our complete review of Typhoon Family is now available on the Blossom Review, and over on Substack this week we reviewed a Netflix documentary called K for Gimbap. I'll leave all the links in the description. if you guys want to give them a read. Thank you so very much for being here. I really hope that you like this video and you subscribe so I can see you here every week for a new review. Take very good care of yourself and I'll see you very, very soon. Thank you so much. Big kiss.